All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 19th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Education for Arlington Heights School District 25. Thank you to everyone joining us tonight. And before we begin, I'll share that our meetings are when the school board conducts its business and are open to the public. Because we are an elected governmental body, we can only take action by majority vote in a public meeting like this one. We welcome the public to listen and observe, and we have community input sections on the agenda if you have questions or comments on the business of the board. With that, I call the regular meeting to order. And Ms. O'Brien, if you please call the roll.
Neerman? Here. Tranter?
Here.
Jogi?
Here.
Scapalato?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Bookbearer?
Here.
Cerniglia?
Here. Thank you, Lana. And if you please stand if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, here we are at our August meeting, and we have recognitions and presentations to bring forward. So this evening, we are going to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Dryden Place Project Garden. So Dr. Kay, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I am more than excited to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Dryden Place Project, having been directly involved in it from not the very beginning, but we did bring a couple people that have been involved from the very beginning, and another person we want to recognize who was unable to be here but was the real beginner of this whole project. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kendra Perry, who will further the introduction and the welcome of our special guests.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I was the lucky one to inherit this wonderful project, so it's been an honor to be able to see it come to this and to celebrate its 10th year. So I just want to start by thanking Dr. Jake Chung, who couldn't be with us here tonight. Thank you. Jake started this garden 10 years ago as a community service project, and we've carried it through. And so I want to invite up Miss Mary Lee and Miss Kasa Koshinka. I tried really hard to say it right. Come on up next to me. Mary Lee's a little nervous about being here. I want to start by inviting Mary Lee and Kasha to join me. Thanks to their vision and dedication and leaders like Jake Chung, along with the continued commitment of so many, the Dryden Place Project Garden stands as a powerful example of what we can accomplish when we work together. Slide. Thank you. One more. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Dryden Place Project Garden, a decade of bringing people together, fostering community partnerships, and creating opportunities for students and families. What began as a response to challenges facing our youth has grown into a vibrant, restorative community effort. Supported by dedicated partners, including the Village of Arlington Heights, the library, the Park District, Prospect High School, and countless volunteers. Over the years, the project has reduced neighborhood challenges, provided mentorship and resources, and built a sense of pride and connection. I want to especially thank Kasha and Mary Lee for all you have done to keep the tradition alive and growing. Literally, here's to 10 years of growth and many more seasons to come. And I just want to give them a moment to say a word or two, if they would like to, about the experience, because they've been doing this for 10 years. Mary Lee, come on.
Okay, I was pulled in by Jake. He was my last principal after having taught 36 years in the Schaumburg School District. And I thought I was retired, but I wasn't. But I think this is the best thing that I could have ever done in my life. I'm sorry. I usually don't cry like this, but you have my dedication, and I will continue. But I tell everybody the recognition that I have and the pride that I have about the staff that I meet at every building, because I also translate and I interpret for IEPs and meetings. And you have wonderful people working for this district, and you, Brian. And I appreciate you very much, and you too. And thank you so much for this.
And I have a little award for you for our volunteer. Thank you. And Kasha?
I want to say thank you to Mary Lee, because without her, this would not go on for as long as it did. I want to say thank you to our maintenance team, Daniel Mendoza, Beth Satera for holding our account, which is a moving account that we use for supplies, and all the village help every time we have our fall harvest, and we're going to continue it. And District 214 for helping us close out the year and get ready for winter. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasha. When this started, I really thought they called it Johnny Appleseed Day, and it was at Dryden. I was so confused. It's a beautiful garden outside Mother's Touch. If you haven't gone by and seen it, I would encourage you to take a tour, and we'll invite you to the Harvest Fest when we have it. So thank you for letting me honor them.
All right, everybody, we'll continue on with our board communications. So this is where we look around to see any board member updates from the last month since we last met. Anyone want to start?
Mr. President?
Yes, please.
I have to share, it's been a delightful first few months on the board, and as I'm sure our community is aware, as each month goes by, there's more and more joy in the community and almost impossible to share every moment. July 29th, I had the privilege to attend National Night Out for the first time, not as just a community member, but as a board member, and it is such a joyful event for the community, between the helicopters flying over the fountain and spraying the water everywhere, and the police department, the fire department, the dozens of vendors and food trucks, and over a dozen members of our admin team that came and blew up all night. It truly was fun and engaging, and we had many, many community families that came to say hello and introduce new incoming kindergartners and students, so it was great fun. And then August 6th, the pleasure of participating both as a board member and as a Good Neighbor Network member volunteer with the Back to School Backpack event. Honored to attend, honored to see the families in our community that could use a little bit of assistance, that had such a joyful event getting their backpacks and their school supplies. And a huge special thank you to Faith Lutheran Church for what they do in contributing to the event, and to our very own Lana O'Brien, who every year always makes the event so special for everyone. It was such a pleasure to participate as a board member with you this year, so thank you for that. And lastly, most recently, a major joy, participating yesterday, not as a staff member, but as a board member with the back to school welcome for the teachers. Wow. Very joyful, excellent positive feedback from the staff, from the teachers, incredible speeches by so many individuals, by our own Dr. K, by our own Mr. President, by our own Allison did such an engaging job of just letting the teachers know it was going to be a fabulous year. So I'm very, very excited.
Thank you, Deb. Other,
Mr. President,
yes, Kevin.
I wanted to express my gratitude for the invitation to board members to join the new staff luncheon last week. I was able to attend that. I sat with Ann Buck and her new staff from Westgate, and it was lovely to meet those new staff members and have conversation and a meal with them and just build those relationships between the board and the staff, because I hope that they know how much they appreciate we appreciate everything that they do for our students and our community.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I have the pleasure of serving on the Arlington Heights Council of PTAs as our board rep this year, and we had our first meeting last night, so I just wanted to give a shout out to all our wonderful PTAs. Our whole staff is working so hard to get ready for school in 2 days. Parents are, and also our PTA volunteers are working really hard to get lots of welcome events and make sure new students feel welcome, kindergartners feel welcome, the staff feels appreciated. So thank you to all our PTA board members and volunteers.
Thank you, Melissa. Others.
My good board friends have shared kind of everything that we've done, but it really is a joy to go to these board events through the community and go to these community events, be it new staff luncheon or opening day, and the board is there with such enthusiasm, and we're all there, and seeing the smiles on opening day and seeing everybody so happy and seeing it be a fun event because Dr. K leads with such humor and heart. Thank you, Dr. K, for that really amazing opening day once again. So that was really great to see. I also wanted to share on a personal note, the summer our educators travel. I saw, Allison shared up there how, our educators are everywhere and kind of bringing back the summer into the school year. I had the opportunity to travel to Peru this summer, and while I was there, I visited some schools, and just to what we have in District 25 and what we have in the U.S. Compared to countries in the world, I think we're just so fortunate for what we have. And coming back, getting my own son ready to go back into District 25 schools, going to middle school, we're just so fortunate. I'm so grateful for what we have here in our country. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you, Anisha. And so I'll just take 10 seconds and echo whatever all of you said. And really, maybe we should change this segment of the agenda to board member gratitude, because, but in all seriousness, so my gratitude I want to extend to you, Dr. K, and Lana for your assistance, and everyone that invites us and allows us to come in and witness all these great things. We don't take it for granted, and maybe sometimes there can be anxiety because there's a board member there, but we're all just parents, and we're just proud to witness all these fun events. So thank you. All right. Well, thank you for all the updates. I think we got everyone that wanted to. So Kevin, we'll go to the legislative report.
Thank you. So on Friday, August 1st, I attended the EdRed Legislative Breakfast hosted by Wheeling District 21. And we were randomly assigned to various tables throughout the space for the event. So I was sitting with Board of Education members from neighboring districts and administrators from neighboring districts, also members of the EdRed organization. And we were seated with Illinois Senator Adrian Johnson. There were several other Illinois legislators in attendance as well to hear questions, concerns, topics of interest from EdRed school districts. So some of the topics that came up during our table discussions were how implementation of mandates have affected school districts, either financially, logistically, or teaching and learning. Changes in funding of transportation services, because that's been a significant issue for a lot of districts in Illinois this year. Questions about what supports from legislation and from the state assembly have been most helpful and where there are still gaps or needs. And then legislators wanting to know, and EdRed as an organization wanting to know, how can we as board members or administrators or members of the community better engage with lawmakers about our local priorities? So those were some of the major topics of conversation that came up. I was unfortunately not able to stay for the entire event, but one of the topics that I think led to, excuse me, some of the deepest and most interesting conversation between our table and the senator was talking about how when there are things that change as far as what the school day looks like, it has a bigger impact than legislators might realize if they haven't worked in a public school setting before. So one example that came up at the table discussion was the proposed change in PE waivers that we discussed earlier this year. And it wasn't just the fact that some schools might not have enough space to have 2 extra days of PE classes for every class in the school every week of the year, and they'd have to hire additional teachers, but also the impact that has on the instructional minutes that the teacher then can still allot to other content areas. Because if students lose an hour of instructional time every week to attend an extra hour of PE, what is the teacher forced to cut from language arts or math or science or social studies instruction? So it's a lot bigger impact than just 1 or 2 things. And the senator did express that that was helpful for her to hear. And she encouraged us to continue sharing thoughts and stories and concerns like those with our lawmakers. So I just wanted to pass that message along. And next EdRed event is going to be the kickoff luncheon on October 20th at Serenello's in Wheeling. And any board members who are interested and available are encouraged to register for that event. And I'll hand it over to Stacy in case there's anything additional she wants to share.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kevin. All right. And Anisha, we're at the ISB COSBA report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So on Sunday, I want to thank you again, you guys, for your support and encouragement. So I've been preparing on Sunday. I leave for Starved Rock to meet with the nominating committee. So I will have a nice drive and maybe add a hike on when I'm there. So that's the Sunday. And then as far as I want to thank Lana for all the prep that she's been doing to help us get out there. Dr. K, Kevin, and I are kind of putting our heads together slowly but surely, giving Dr. K some time to kick off the school year as well, to represent our district, our board, to present at III. So look out, board members, we're going to be sending you a survey to kind of think about what points of how we've built trust and culture on our board kind of stand out for you, because we want to take your input out there to III. And then I'm also getting ready for the Federal Advocacy Conference, so any thoughts you may have for, conversations like what Kevin had suggested, was talking about just now, or any other topics in mind, and I'm looking forward to take those at a federal, national level for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. All right, and then now we're at NSSEO, and Liz, please.
So in your board packets this month, you have several NSSEO documents, including the Articles of Agreement, which are still up for discussion. The NSSEO board and member district superintendents have been debating whether a 2-tiered system with a governing board, which is what I sit on, and an operational board, which is Dr. K would sit on, is necessary. And consensus is that it is necessary to adapt to best and most efficiently serve our students. In order to make this change, the NSSEO governing board will have to amend its current Articles of Agreement. And tonight I'm seeking feedback as to whether we, as a collective District 25 board, support that action to officially move the draft of the articles back to us again for the required review period before we can make this change. The current articles have a list of things we need to do in order to make the change. Essentially, after you watch a video in just a minute, I will need a collective okay from all of us that we are supportive of moving forward with amending the articles and creating this 2-tiered system. Okay, so if Adam could roll the presentation. After the presentation.
Thank you for taking the time from your
after the presentation, Dr. Kate and myself can answer any questions we have, and we can decide. So thank you, Adam.
Busy board agendas to view this video and the important information shared regarding the governance structure at NSSEO. This is Dr. Meg Schnorr, Superintendent of NSSEO, and as you know, we are a special education cooperative serving your district and 7 other area districts, enabling the provision of special education services for the most complex educational needs. In fall of 2024, NSSEO, along with all member districts and a variety of NSSEO shareholders, met to develop a strategic plan to guide the cooperative in meeting the needs of member districts for the next 5 years. 4 key priorities emerged: governance, finance and facilities, instruction and programs, and highly qualified staff. This evening, I am presenting the governance priorities. For the year, NSSEO had districts, the district has a single board, NSSEO board, which is made up of 1 elected board member from each of the member district boards, coming together monthly to govern the work of the cooperative. During the original strategic plan meetings in fall of 2024, as well as the action plan meetings in January of 2025, the shareholders agreed that there needs to be another layer of governance added to the structure. This layer of governance would be composed of the superintendent from each of the member districts and the NSSEO superintendent, meeting in alignment with the Open Meetings Act to collaboratively make decisions of how best to provide for students with special needs in all member districts. These decisions would be made in alignment with the budget established annually by the elected governing board members. Making the change to a 2-tiered board requires the change of the NSSEO Articles of Agreement, which were already overdue to be reviewed and revised. A copy of a draft of the new NSSEO Articles of Agreement is included in your board packets. Naturally, the question, why do we need to change, has arisen in many discussions. NSSEO exists to meet the needs of member districts, and member districts want to share in the decisions that are made on behalf of their students, including those attending NSSEO programs. Another question has been, the superintendents already meet monthly in an advisory capacity with the superintendent and administration of NSSEO. Isn't that sufficient? While the implementation of the NSSEO Superintendent Council has increased the dialogue between superintendents and NSSEO administration, it does not hold decision-making power. An operational board would have the formal authority to make operational decisions on matters such as the e-learning policy, program design, staffing models, and transportation services, giving districts a direct role in shaping the outcomes that impact the students and their budgets. Unlike advisory groups, an operation board would meet publicly under the Open Meetings Act. This creates a legally accountable structure where all deliberations and decisions are transparent, documented, and accessible to the public. This helps build broader trust, which has been a key concern raised in the strategic planning process. Further, an operational board will also help NSSEO reduce the sharing of misinformation and back-channel problem solving. The operational board removes the ambiguity. Instead of conversations happening offline or in silos, key issues would be addressed through a structured, visible process. This helps eliminate conjecture and fosters mutual accountability. The question of how was this decision made will no longer be an issue. Additionally, the operational board, with superintendent representation from all member districts in a formal capacity, ensures that decisions reflect the diversity of needs across our entire cooperative, not just those with the loudest voices, most urgent needs, or lowest or highest fund balances. It helps us function as a cooperative with shared priority, not just being a service provider. Ultimately, this is about building confidence in how NSSEO serves students and stewards the significant financial contributions from member districts. The operational board will provide a platform for member districts to shape strategy, monitor value, and affirm that NSSEO is indeed delivering on our mission. The Superintendent Advisory Council is critical and will continue to be, but an operational board offers the public an empowered and equitable forum of collective leadership. My goal as the superintendent of NSSEO is that by the end of this year, every member district will not only understand how decisions are made, but will also see clear evidence that NSSEO is more than a value-added partner. We are a shared investment in a better future for our students with exceptional needs. The addition of the operational board does not in any way diminish the importance of our governing board. The governing board will continue to set the budget within which the operational board functions, as well as hire and evaluate the NSSEO superintendent. But their role extends far beyond that. We need our governing board to continue to bring the needs of NSSEO back to your member district boards so that resources can continue to be allocated to meeting the needs of all of your students. We also need our governing board members to ensure that our students continue to have a place and a voice in our community, and that their needs are considered beyond the school, from community events to employment opportunities and the generation of supplemental resources to provide for their needs. We have a cautionary tale that has taken shape this summer in that a neighboring special education cooperative will no longer be in existence this time next year. We want to strengthen the collaboration between member districts and NSSEO to ensure that we can continue to provide the services for our students in their home community. The time to move forward is now. As board members of 8 different school boards, I am asking that you review the draft articles, ask questions, and eventually ratify them so that we can move forward in a highly transparent and effective manner as we work to implement all of the priorities of the NSSEO strategic plan and provide for your students with the most complex special needs. Thank you.
All right, so any questions?
Liz, it mentioned, so they're talking about adding the operational board, but then it said she said the superintendent advisory group will continue. So is it, let me make sure I understand though, is the operational board, that is the superintendent's?
I think, Brian, do you want to take this or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, I'll start.
Go ahead.
I do believe the advisory board will continue until this is put in place. So with all 8 districts taking this back to their home districts, getting approval to lean forward and move forward on this, it could be January by the time this is actually approved, and then it could actually be implemented after that. So we may be talking about a full another half a year or full year before this gets fully implemented. All the while, the advisory board, Meg being the superintendent of NSSEO, and the 8 member districts will still continue to meet monthly when it's not formalized. Because again, there is no guarantee that this will be approved, ratified, and changed during this school year.
And then, so Liz, I know you and Dr. Kay and Stacy and Diane have reviewed the articles. Is there anything that you want to highlight for us or just draw our attention to?
So we did review the articles. The work that we did will be redone once we agree to review them again. So it's basically, I would like to thank Diane and Stacy and Brian for their expertise, and we kind of combed through. Once we have agreed, assuming that all 8 districts agree to send it back to us, I think we'll probably meet again with a different lens on the articles, and then we will be able to come back to you with thoughts. But having been on the NSSEO board for 2 years, I feel like this is a smart move. I feel that we have hired our superintendents who are experts in their fields, and to have them making those decisions alongside the governing board members will really best, most effectively and efficiently serve our students. That is my personal belief. We can continue to discuss. If we're ready to kind of do a thumbs up, I would like to be able to take our either approval or disapproval to the meeting on September 3rd. So are we prepared to kind of give a thumbs up, thumbs down? Are there any other questions?
I want to.
The only thing I would add to what you shared is I believe that Meg is trying to be as responsive and supportive of the 8 member districts because she has seen a neighboring cooperative that's going to disband in a year. And I believe she wants to be as transparent and responsive to the 8 member districts. And I believe this is going to make her job more challenging to have ultimately like another cabinet She already has a board, now she'll have like another cabinet, what we're calling the operational board. So she already has her own cabinet, so we're like a third level that she's going to work with and through. So I only see this helping support what's happening with NSSEO. I do feel like it's going to be a challenge to initiate another OMA process with all of the superintendents. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but I don't see this hurting the operation of NSSEO. I think it will support and help MEG move forward.
So I want to, before we get consensus, I just want to ask it then explicitly. It was kind of in your wrap up, but Dr. K and Liz, I mean, for us, for District 25, we're good with moving forward.
Yeah, I think on behalf of my team, I think we are supportive of the direction that this is moving. Yes.
Okay.
And I'd also like to add that through District 25, we have such a strong history of participation from Diane and Stacy, and first Dr. Vine and now Dr. K. We really are lucky and in a great spot. But yes, I absolutely believe that this would be good for 25.
Any other questions for Liz or Dr. K? So just nods, are we good? Move forward? Yeah? Okay.
Thank you. I will bring this back to our next meeting.
Great. Thank you, Liz. All right. Okay, so that wraps up our board communications. We now are at the community input section of the agenda, and if a member of the public wishes to address any item on tonight's agenda, we ask that you please complete one of the blue forms provided on the table and hand the card to Lon O'Brien. Please note on your card if you wish to speak now at the first community input, but it seems we don't have any, or if you would like to speak later, should we have a second community input opportunity. But seeing we have no blue slips at this time, we're going to go right to the communications from district partners. Dr. K, we have a report from PTA.
I do. A brief report from our AHC PTA President, Erin Lekomsky. She shares that the 24-25 school year is off and running. Do you agree with that? Absolutely. Yeah, it ran so fast, it's past us already. So the 25-26 school year is off and running. Schools are busy building relationships with new admins, staff, and families. Each school has mapped out a busy fall calendar. Many schools have hosted multiple kindergarten and new family welcome nights already, some with exciting impromptu school tours from building principals. This coming month, we will see many back-to-school bashes, outdoor movie nights, fall fests, bicycle rodeos, breakfasts for teachers and staff, ice cream socials, and several unique fundraisers. The Northwest Cook Region PTA will host their annual fall region meeting for the 25-26 school year on October 20th for all PTA units making up the Arlington Heights Council, the Schaumburg Council, and the Palatine Council. Many of our local units are expected to receive awards for programming and for meeting various membership goals in this past year. The next Arlington Heights Council of PTA's meetings will be September 15th in person at Dunton here at 7:30 p.m. Thank you. Respectfully submitted by Erin Lekomsky.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. K. And then I'll ask you now again, do we have a report for ABC 25?
I did not receive one.
Okay. All right. So, Allison Berg, your moment is now. Welcome. We know you.
Yeah. You have your cape ready, Allison? Do you have your cape, your superhero cape?
I actually do have one. Now it is. Okay, good evening. Thank you. I do have a cape at home, and I didn't wear it. I have actually several I could have chosen from, believe it or not, and a lasso of truth. But I didn't bring any of it for the speech. I had plenty of props, but didn't go that route. I actually even have an Avengers shirt. I missed an opportunity, you guys. I really did, now that I'm thinking about it. I should have talked to you beforehand. Anyways, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share some news from around the schools. Many teachers spent time this summer relaxing and unwinding. Here are some highlights from some District 25 teachers, which I talked about in my speech the other day, but from everybody around the district. Ashley De Silva lived out of a suitcase this summer. She traveled to LA to see her best friend, went to Japan with her brother, and then to Spain with her best friends from high school. This is a photo of her at the Nara Deer Park in Japan. Like many other amazing teachers around the district, Beth spent her summer teaching Summer U, as did I actually, and had a blast doing it. She also walked to promote reading with the Arlington Heights Library for the 4th of July parade and worked with other staff as a volunteer at Frontier Days around the 4th. She also planted about 100 roses, moss roses from seed, and was able to get one to grow in her yard. For someone who usually kills plants, she was ecstatic. Laura Angeles, oh, and that's a Frisbee competition. Laura Angeles said some of her highlights from the summer included taking her niece to Lollapalooza, and she also went to a Berber wedding in Morocco, and that's a picture of her there and there, which is pretty cool. Julie McCune, one of my faves, spent her summer on the deck with a good book. Gotta love that. Amy Pinsky, world traveler, went to Iceland, Greenland, Nova Scotia, and Canada this summer. She never misses an opportunity for a good travel. Colette Murphy did a tour of the national parks with her family this summer. There is a picture of them. Lisa Sweeto visited Madison and actually went to Coldplay for real with her daughters this summer, which is awesome. It has been a fun and busy few days back. Today is only Tuesday. I cannot even believe it. It has been so busy, actually. We welcomed 30 new teachers into our district, about 30 new teachers into our district, and it is always great to have that energy and excitement in our buildings that the new teachers bring. We love that. Since we've been back, teachers have been hard at work. This is my fave. There they are. We've been hard at work unpacking the new reading materials and learning about the new reading series. We've been learning about strategies to help our students succeed in school. We've been reconnecting with colleagues, looking at schedules, talking about what we can do to help kids to have their best, to be their best this year. The ATA is also looking forward to another year of collaboration with our administration and board, especially with this as we approach a new contract negotiation. So as somebody just said, we are off and running. We are ready for a new school year. We're looking forward to our friends, coming back to our classrooms on Thursday when the real fun begins. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Allison. All right. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda. This is an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President.
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve those items on the consent agenda as follows. A, personnel report and addendum to personnel report. B, invoices. C, accept donations to District 25 for 2024-2025. D, regular and closed session meeting minutes of July 15th, 2025. E, hold closed session minutes of January 14th, 2025, February 11th, 2025, April 22nd, 2025, and June 10th, 2025, per Board Policy 2:220, Exhibit 1. F, release closed session minutes of March 11th, 2025, and May 13th, 2025, per Board Policy 2:220, Exhibit 1. G, hold audio tape of September 26th, 2023, per Board Policy 2:220, Exhibit 1. H, destruction of audio tapes July 1, 2023 through August 29th, 2023, and October 10th, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, per Board Policy 2:220, Exhibit 1.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
A second?
Thank you, Anisha. Lana, if you please call the vote.
Tranter,
Yes.
Jogi,
Yes.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Buchberger,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman.
Yes.
Thank you, Lana. The motion carries 7-0. We're now at the student learning section of the agenda, and we have an information item for instructional materials for this year. We're going to welcome Dr. Fitzpatrick for this agenda item. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you. So, the list of instructional materials for the 25-26 school year is provided to the school board in accordance with Board Policy 6:210. Due diligence has been exercised in selecting materials that meet the needs of our students and are developmentally appropriate. The list reflects core instructional materials. Teachers may, of course, supplement these core resources when they determine it is in the best interest of their students or classroom. New materials for the 25-26 school year are, you just saw some pictures of our new literacy resource, HMH Into Reading, which for this year would be for grades 1 through 5, the remaining teachers in those grade levels that were not early implementers. As a reminder to the board, kindergarten implemented all of them early last year. And then the only other thing is kindergarten students will now have a science notebook to go along with their Activate Learning Prime science program. As a reminder, also, anyone may inspect any textbook or instructional material. The list is posted and will be posted on our website as soon as the board meeting's over, and it's updated annually.
All right, thank you. Any questions on this item? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. All right, and now we're going to the Student Services section of the agenda. We have an information item for the medication management procedures. And welcome Diane Kafka to the board table. And when you're ready.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to share some updates to our medication management procedures. There we go. As with all our activities, this ties directly to our strategic plan, specifically falling under the learning environment goal to cultivate a healthy climate to support the needs of our learners, specifically to meet their medical needs. So this evening, the purpose of the presentation is really just to share some updates. Last year at this time, we implemented many changes to the medication management procedures that we reviewed last August. And throughout this whole year, we've been following all the pertinent guidance, really getting feedback from our nurses, our families, our district admin, our school admin, to make some updates for this evening. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the medication management procedures. They're always listed on the website, but our medication management procedures highlight the roles and responsibilities of each constituent. There's information about the parents' responsibility, our nurses, our students, and our school or district administration. With that medication management procedure, we also outline the different types of medication and the different procedures that relate to them. So there's guidelines for our over-the-counter medication, emergency meds, and controlled medication. So tonight we're just going to go over a little bit of those changes. I did want to include on this because it will be also included for the public to see that on our webpage all of this information, including the procedures, the forms, and the way to easily contact our school nurses, is all included on there in one quick link. We even made a little highlight of easy format for parents to follow on dropping off medications this year. So overall, the highlights or the updates that I want to share tonight, we made some changes to how we share student health information, the provision of medication, the documentation of medication, and our medication disposal. The way that we shared, the update that we shared regarding the student health information, we know that the collaboration with the parent, the nurse, the physician is essential for our medication management. And the first step that we have is our annual registration form that's completed for every student by their parent. We, the nurse team and myself, we review those questions and we update the health information questions annually, and all that information is fed directly into our PowerSchool student information system that the nurses have access to, and they review every single student to make any updates that they need to. This year we added a parental consent for over-the-counter administration. This was something that legal guidance recommended that we do to protect the families and our nurses, make sure that we have that communication so that if there's any minor injury or health concern during the school day, our registered nurses can share these health concerns with the parent and document the use of the over-the-counter medications. So this statement was included in the registration. It's also included in our handbook. So the parents had an opportunity to say, yes, we give you permission to use that. And then within our handbook, if they have concerns, there's an opt-out way that they could do that. Another update was regarding the provision of medication. Overall, our provision of medication procedures was very successful this year, but we did want to be responsive to working parents and guardians that had challenges with bringing the medication to school, the medication provision, especially now that we only allow a 30-day supply of the controlled medication. So we worked very closely with a few families. Our goal was always to ensure our students had their medication, and so we worked closely with those families and our school administration, and we wanted to document what we came up with to work with these families. What it is that a parent or a guardian can sign a release of information and have another adult family member be able to bring the medication to school and go through that verification process. Like I shared, we did have to use that last year for a few families, and we wanted to make sure that we had that documented for them. The next one is the provision of prescription medication. And again, our previous procedures for the prescription emergency and controlled substance medication was well received and implemented. We continue to require that all the medication have that authorization of administration of medication form, matching the prescription label and medication, which also allows us to do the verification checks. During the procedures last year, our registered nurses requested one change related to the format that we had previously shared for prescription medication. We previously shared that in order to verify medications or modifications that were required, we were initially asking the parents if a tablet needed to be split, like a half-tablet dose, having the parents present it in the format that it needed to be given. However, our registered nurses were having trouble verifying that that was the exact medication, because now it's split. And on a medication, it's usually labeled, it has like a U5 or something like that, and they could not verify that it was. So instead, we put in the procedures to have the parents come to the health office, make an appointment, verify the medication, and then we have the pill cutter equipment there that they can proceed to make the changes to the format, and then the nurse is there to verify that. We also had an instance where we had a prescription of a liquid controlled medication, which was rare to have, and our team worked hard to come up with a format to make sure that we can also do those verifications. So similar to that, the parent would bring in the medication. We would have what we call like daily syringes available that the parent would put out the doses, and then we would have a tamper-resistant seal on those so that we could do the verification checks with that. And that was really well received. We needed to use that with one family last year, and it was well received. Another little update was in regards to our documentation of medication. We have all the medical professionals use what we call a medication administration record, or the MAR. Annually, we update that to match our school calendar, but we also added a second page for the verification of medication. And I'm going to just show you what those look like. This is the cover page that gets updated annually. We block out the days that the students are not in attendance, and this is where the nurse would write in the dose that was given and the count. And then we had the second page, which is on the back side of it. Page 2 is for documenting medication received from the parent. So there's places to do that, whether it's discontinued and picked up or received. And we have the parent, the nurse, and the witness available to mark it right on there. And we also have a spot for notes. So if anything does happen, there's a missed dose or there was some kind of unexpected incident in the health office, this is where they could put that on there. And then what we did add last year is page 3, which is double-sided. So it's page 3 and 4. The nurses found it was just much easier to have a documentation for those verifications. We're doing these weekly checks on the controlled medication, and this format worked really well for them to be able to have the date that it was done, the time, the count, who the RN is, and then whoever the witness is, whether it is another RN, school, or district administrator doing that. And of course, as always, a parent can request to do a verification check, and that would be included on here too. The last update that we made was a minor one regarding medication disposal. Our new procedure added mid-year was regarding the disposal of medication that is no longer being given at school. as I shared, we're doing these weekly checks. And what we found is if a parent or a physician is saying we want to pause a medication or hold a medication, if it's a controlled med, the team was still doing those weekly checks on that. And the team determined it would be better if medication was being held for more than 30 days to have the parent come pick that up and then restart the process. So we did add that into our procedures. We also added in for the end of the year disposal that all of our nurses always give at least a 1 week notice. In addition, the principals are adding it to their blog, but with that 1 week notice regarding the pickup and disposal procedures, including the opportunity for a parent to make an appointment to make sure that they can pick up that medication before the end of the school year. And that's up for our updates on that. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Diane. Any questions from the board? I just want to say, I remember when you rolled this out, you came and did that presentation, and I remember you saying that, there will be changes, and that we will, and so thank you for taking the time to show that it's a living system that's responsive to everybody that's involved,
Yes.
students, families, staff, so thank you.
Thank you. And it will continue to be. Our nurses will continue to keep the data and have that information. If we need to make any additional changes, then we will do that too.
Great.
Thank you.
Diane. Thanks, Diane. We're moving on to the business and finance section of the agenda. We have an action item for crossing guard locations. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the crossing guard locations as presented for the 2025-2026 school year.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Anisha. Stacy, if you could let the board know what we need to
Yes,
know.
this is an annual action item for the board, just to reestablish the crossing guard locations officially as we do build the village for these locations. There are no changes to the locations from what we had in place last year. As of right now, all of these locations are staffed with district staff, except for, if you recall, you approved a contract with Andy Frayne to provide services to start the year at 2 locations, with the opportunity that should we have any of our crossing guards forego their corners at any time during the year, the ability to increase our staffing with Andy Frayne as well. Again, at this point, all of the costs related to crossing guards, we do pay up front and then bill the village for reimbursement.
Could you remind us what the 2 intersections with the...
Yes, it's
Andy Frayne?
Belmont and Thomas, right at Thomas Middle School,
Mm-hmm.
and then Dwyer and Grove, which is in the Westgate area.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Any other questions? All right. Lana, when you're ready, if you could please call the vote.
Jogi,
Yes.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Buchberger,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman,
Yes.
Tranter.
Yes.
Thank you, Lana. The motion carries 7-0, and we'll continue on to another action item for serious safety hazards. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the resolution to continue serious safety hazardous busing for the 2025-26 school year.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Anisha. All right, and Stacy, again?
Yes, thank you. Again, another annual action item we bring to the board to reestablish the serious safety hazards that have been approved by IDOT throughout the district to allow us to bill the state and submit for reimbursement. There are no changes to these hazards since last year.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Any questions? All right. Seeing none, Lana, if you could please call the vote.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Buchberger,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman,
Yes.
Tranter,
Yes.
Jogi.
Yes.
Thank you, Lana, and the motion carries 7-0. And then the final agenda item in this section is an information item on the presentation of the 2025-26 tentative budget. Stacy?
Yes, thank you. So the presentation is now available in board docs along with a copy of the tentative legal budget document. And while it's the first time you'll be seeing this tonight, we do have 30 days till final adoption, during which you can certainly submit questions, reach out, call for further information should need be. So in terms of our budget assumptions, CPI we know was 3.4% for the 24 levy and 2.9% for 2025. Similar collection rate, we never anticipate collecting 100% of all of our taxes on time. The one thing that is important for the board to know is we have not received the 2024 final tax extension information. The bills are going to be due this year. Typically they're due, I believe, September 1st. They're supposed to be due at the earliest October 1st because they haven't even let us know what our extensions are. So as of right now, funds are based on the 2023 rates in terms of how we've recorded it against all of the different funds. But when we get those final rates, we will reallocate to match those rates in 24-25, which will then ultimately also impact the 25-26 budget, because our fall collection is the total extension from 24 less what we collected in the spring. So if we reallocate what we collected in the spring, it's going to force a reallocation of our fall collection, which is this year's budget. So I'm hoping to get all that in place for final budget in December. It won't change the total dollars of taxes. It'll just redistribute amongst funds. I'm not anticipating in this budget that, well, I'll rephrase that. I am anticipating the board will continue to abate the prior year refund recapture levy, as we have been doing for the last number of years. So I'm not assuming any collection on that this year. And then we still anticipate another $370,000 in TIF surplus distribution based on a meeting with the village just a couple weeks ago. We did, just as an FYI, refund about $2.3 million in 24-25 in property taxes. Districts across Cook County found a significant increase consistent with what we saw. That's about 3 times our normal refunds. So for whatever reason, it's across the whole county. But again, you'll see how that plays out between last year and this year. Interest income, we previously had anticipated the rates were going to drop based on everything the feds had been telling us, but they haven't dropped to the extent they were projected to, which is good news for us. So interest income, I am projecting at an average 3.5% interest rate. CPPRT, corporate personal property replacement taxes, they just announced those anticipated. That comes from the Illinois Department of Revenue. They just released those numbers with a 2% increase for next year. In terms of our state funds for evidence-based funding, we are now a Tier 2 district. So Tier 4 is the highest, meaning you have over 100% adequacy. We were Tier 3 for the last number of years. We, going into this year, are Tier 2, simply because Tier 2 is less than 90%, but above, I think, 78%. We were 92%. We're 89.8% of adequacy, which puts us just below that marker to be in Tier 3. Ultimately, what does that mean? It means we get a higher distribution of the additional tier funding for EBF. It's $134,000, but we'll take it. In terms of other state funds, I think as member Michael said, transportation reimbursement is based on our prior expenses, which continue to grow. Unfortunately, everybody's continued to grow, so special ed transportation is historically reimbursed at 80%, but they're now prorating that 80% by 82%, which equates to about 65% that we get reimbursed, which is not good news. In terms of federal funds, we have been getting what's called supply chain assistant funds through the National School Lunch Program as a result of COVID for the last 3 years. That is now gone. So that was about $126,000 on average for the last 3 years, but will not be included in this budget. At the time I created this, we had not been allocated Title II funds, but we just received our allocation, so it is $70,000 and some odd dollars, which is pretty typical of what we usually get, so that's good news. The costs that we would have funded under Title II are anticipated already in this budget, except for what's called non-public share, which is about $10,000 of that total. So the revenue will be fully additional when you see the final budget, to the extent of about $60,000, shouldn't have additional costs associated with that. And then Title III was also just released, so that one, there will be costs and revenues associated with that in the final budget. So overall, budget to budget revenue changes, as I mentioned previously, are skewed. If you look at the change column, the final column to the right, because it looks like budget to budget, there's some pretty big increases, but it's because right now the budget is based on the actual amounts, again, that are distributed based on the wrong year's tax rates. So the revenue budget in total, when you see the final budget, will still be roughly that $107 million plus the title funds, but the amounts per fund will be reallocated. So I just don't want you to think too much about the percentages right now. The dollars overall are right, but they will go across to funds. I just don't have good information to try to guess at that right now. Sorry, this is different than some previous budgets because we just don't have the information we need. The capital project budget, you'll notice I highlighted it. We had the bond proceeds in 24-25, which is why there's a big drop now, because we're done selling bonds. So that would be the only reason there's a decrease in that. And then the bond and interest looks like a larger increase in revenue, but that is because we abated the $1.9 million of our 2023 levy, which was then collected in 24-25 fiscal year. I'm not anticipating recommending an abatement this year, so it looks like revenues went up an extra $1.9 million, but it's really just that amount that we abated in the past. So the majority of the overall decrease in total revenues is because of the bond proceeds, and then offset by the increase in taxes and then the decrease in some of the federal revenues. Same information, just broken down by type rather than fund. So again, you can see property taxes looks like an increase of 8.1%. That is the 3.4 CPI, 1% new growth, and the 1.9 million that wasn't in last year but is anticipated to be in this year because we abated it in the prior year. Interest income I mentioned, we're looking at higher rates throughout the course of this year because we've made investments already that are 6 months out, 12 months out. And those are, again, average 3.5%. Textbooks revenue is based on our student fees that the board approved and our enrollment numbers. And then I do include an adjustment for our free and reduced population. Tuition is our summer school and our children's circle program. And our summer school was fewer days and we had a lower enrollment than typical. So that is the decrease that you see there. The other local revenue looks like a big decrease, but that's really because we had a bond premium on the bond sale that was considered local revenue. So that was last year, but again, not this year. Our lease agreements are set for Minor and Rand School with inflationary increases built in, so that's where the rental number comes from. And then I've already mentioned the state revenues with our increase in EBF and increase in transportation due to higher costs being reimbursed, but then prorated, so overall not really an increase. And then federal looks like it's going down, but again, some of that's that food service allocation, and then we'll add back in the title money going into the final budget, so that will change as well. And then while all of that I'm sure made perfect sense, here is just a very basic kind of high level major with an $8.6 million decrease in revenue. Here's where it all stems from. You see the majority, the decrease is really the bond proceeds, and then the increase is the property taxes. And the insurance reimbursement was there from the Dryden fire that we had last summer. So as typical, and actually as it continues to probably even increase more, property taxes remain the largest portion of our revenue budget, while state and federal dollars really stay flat. They're 8%. They typically have been 8 or 9% of our total budget. We don't anticipate that changing. In terms of our expenditures, it's based on the personnel plan that was approved in the spring. Salary and benefits are, well, salaries are based on our negotiated agreements or tied to CPI. There is, as always, a cap on our health insurance costs of a 6% increase, which I do always anticipate we will see that full amount. We have some curriculum adoptions and updates in this budget totaling about $950,000. We have some tech infrastructure upgrades for $610,000. We have $1.5 million in the budget to do some remodeling of the South and Thomas food service kitchens. They originally were done back in November of 2011, as well as possibly there's contingency funds in there for replacement of our walk-in coolers. We're not sure of the life cycle of those left. That is all part of the spend down plan of all that food service money we got during COVID. So we're sitting on over $2 million still and have to be able to report to the state that we have a plan in place to spend that down. Our bus contract did go up 5% for this upcoming year, and our special ed transportation, we're seeing increased costs as well, and also increased needs of students. The capital projects includes the $3.5 million approved by the board in January. There is some carryover still from 24-25, and then the architect and construction manager fees. We also, between the tech department and facilities, need to update the sound systems at 2 of our schools, and then stage lighting for 3 of the schools that were added into that. This is also our 10-year life safety window year. We last did it in 2015, so we have the architects in the process already of performing that survey, and we'll get that information for our future capital projects analysis. We continue to transfer O&M funds and working cash interest to the capital project funds to support the interest in putting that money away to fund future capital projects. And then we do continue to have contingency funds totaling almost $1 million in the budget, between having money available if we have to add certified or non-certified staff, if we have any kind of big legal issue or something, we have money in contingency for that. And we have about $340,000 in contingency in our tuition budget for special ed placements that could happen throughout the year. So again, not all of our contingency money is typically spent, but it's there if we need it and to have it available. So overall, budget to budget is a decrease mainly because of the capital projects. You see the $20 million we spent last year was still coming out of the original bond proceeds, as well as the spring of 25, some of those bond proceeds. So excluding that, budget to budget, it's about a 3.4% increase. Again, I think I've highlighted most of what's in this chart. Life safety is for the survey. Our tort fund is, the expenditures are a strong estimate because that covers our property and liability insurance and our workers' comp insurance, which are on calendar year renewals. So I don't know what those renewals are at this point. But based on data they provide, I have projected out that what the increases might be for the months of January through June that'll hit this year's budget. And then the bond and interest fund, those payments are set when we sell the bonds, so there's a slight increase because we did just sell bonds in the spring, so we will have interest payments on those bonds. Again, another look by type of expense rather than by fund that the money's paid out of. So overall, our personnel costs are going up just over 4%. CPI was 3.4, and the personnel plan, we did add, some positions. And then our benefits include our pension costs. So those are all FICA, Medicare, IMRF. Those are all tied to salary, so should increase similarly to salaries, which you can see here. The supplies is the decrease mainly due to, you'll see on the next slide, some large purchases we had in the current year budget. The capital outlay is mainly due to that food service, kitchen remodel investment. Construction, obviously, the larger bills from the building additions are mostly done. So overall 10% decrease in total, but excluding construction closer to 3.4. And then again, just a breakdown of exactly where all the decreases came. So the construction obviously is the biggest decrease. You can see we had a very large literacy adoption in the last year budget. We have some smaller, newer literacy, other curriculum adoptions, I'll call them, between math and a PE unit and some creative arts implementations. Facilities budget is mainly due to continued increased utility costs. You'll recall we had to amend last year's budget because electricity and gas had gone up, and we anticipate that to continue. And I mentioned technology. We have some infrastructure needs that we'll be doing this year. The other large supply purchase was the furniture. We made a major investment in furniture district-wide in last year's budget, so another large decrease. Again, as a visual, between salary and benefits, and as typical, personnel costs represent 78% of our budget. That's typical in school districts throughout the state. Everything else representing the remaining 22% of the budget. So where does that put us overall? Well, last year we projected a total almost $9 million deficit. And as of right now, unaudited, we ended the year with about a $7.7 million deficit. So we performed $1.3 million better than we had projected. So we're starting the year with a higher fund balance. Again, as I always share with the board, I'm conservative in both directions, meaning on revenues, I like to, I don't want to say underestimate, but estimate conservatively so that we don't come in under revenue. And on expense, I like to overestimate so that we hopefully don't come in. I think last year was the first year I ever amended a budget because of expenses being underestimated. So you can see here we have a total deficit projected this year of $4.95 million. $4.77 million this year is payment on capital projects, which is coming out of bond proceeds that were sold in a prior year. So if you took that out and we didn't move money around, our operating deficit is less than $200,000 with $1 million of contingencies built in. So I think, as I said before, operating wise, we're balanced. We're in a good position. We are spending down our balances because of the investments or the money we're setting aside for capital projects. I do want to highlight there in the third to last row, under projected fund balance of June of 26, capital projects fund. At the end of this year, we should have about $17.5 million in there. Another 4 to 5 is still included in that referendum projection. But even if you reduce that 17.5 by 5 million, we've set aside 12.5 million over the last couple of years for future capital projects. So I think that's reflective of meeting that goal. At the end of this year, you'll see that 71 million ending fund balance represents about 64% total fund balance, or a 53% operating fund balance level, which is within that 40 to 60% goal that we have. Here's the budget timeline. Just from where we started, we'll continue to make changes through them up until probably the week before September 30th, where we'll have a final hearing and ask for final budget adoption. And as always, happy to have the board call, email questions. If you want to sit down and go through anything in more detail, happy to do that as well. Happy to take questions now, although I know it's probably difficult when you're just seeing it for the first time.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Any questions right now as we're first seeing it? So the next time, as you said, the next time the board will discuss it will be at the approval, right? In September?
Yes, the entire board, correct.
Yeah, so those questions in this intervening month are super important if you do have them. And then we can make sure that the board, if there's stuff we need to share out, we can do that too. All right, thank you again, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy.
We're going on to the personnel and planning section of the agenda, and we have an action item to approve handbooks for this year. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President?
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the following staff handbooks for the 2025-2026 school year as submitted. Educational Support Personnel Handbook, Food and Nutrition Services Handbook, Guest Teacher Handbook, Other Support Personnel Handbook, Teaching Assistant, Clerical Assistant, and Registered Nurse Handbook.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Anisha. And Kendra, if you could walk us through these this year's handbooks.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So as Kevin mentioned, we have 5 handbooks that we revise annually. The OSP was the newest handbook we added last year for our other support personnel, so that's a bit newer to take a peek at. There were minimal changes made to the handbooks. We annually increase, or when we make changes to the salary based on the personnel plan, we add those increased salary scales to the handbooks. So that was updated in all 5 handbooks, or all 4. The OSP doesn't have that. And then additionally, in the TCARN handbook, which is our Teacher Assistant Registered Nurse Handbook, we included the new charts to show the different categories and work hours for the teacher assistants that were approved and very well received by our teacher assistants as we started the school year. So that's now been included in that handbook. And then additionally, we have a new position in our OSP handbook, which we added. That is the assistant business manager position. So we appreciate the efforts and exceptional service that all of these employees and groups provide our students. Their service is critical to our success, allowing us to continue operating smoothly each and every day. So tonight I'm asking that the Board of Education accept and take action on the recommended updates to the 5 noted handbooks.
Thank you, Kendra. Any questions on the handbooks from the board? All right, seeing none, Lana, when you're ready, if you could call the vote, please.
Michael,
Yes.
Buchberg,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman,
Yes.
Tranter,
Yes.
Jogi,
Yes.
Scapalato.
Yes. Thank you, Lana. The motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Kendra. We have now arrived at the superintendent's report. So, Dr. K, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple updates, starting with the all-staff welcome that we had, what feels like a long time ago, but I think it was just yesterday. So our staff were welcomed back yesterday. We had a great celebration to kick off the morning, and then they moved into professional development, not only in their school, but throughout the district. Today was a second day of professional learning. So big thanks to the Department of Student Learning, Department of Student Services, for coordinating all the professional learning throughout the district. And then tomorrow is our teaming day, so another third day of professional learning, where they are going to dig very deep into the individualized students, 504 plans, interventions, IEPs. Social workers will be talking to a lot of the teachers, so a lot of in-depth learning tomorrow. In addition to, I think a lot of our schools have supply drop-offs, so they're going to meet the students that they're talking about all day. So another big day tomorrow as well. And just a big thanks to personnel as well for welcoming in and preparing for 30 new staff, and I know it's higher than that now, but it was 30 as we started the week. A lot of effort, as you know, goes into bringing in a lot of new staff. And the veteran staff equally are tasked with mentoring all of the new staff. So I shared yesterday with welcoming in the new 30, we have found a way to attract them, now we need to retain them. So a lot of effort goes in both on veteran staff and the new staff to hopefully grow into their positions and stay in District 25. Next, I want to highlight Community Safety Night that will be scheduled and is scheduled for September 10th from 6 to 7 p.m. It started with a focus on the very popular e-scooters and e-bikes and where are we with ordinances. As you may already know, the village is also looking at ordinance changes. So it's all about, for us, safety and making sure that everyone's aware of what the protocols are and the local ordinances. In addition to whether the ordinance says X, Y, or Z, what can you or can't you do on school property. So even a bike, a regular bike with no electric motor or e-motor, we just ask that you walk them when on school property. It's no different than a skateboard, rollerblades, so we just want to make sure it's clear to our community what the expectations are. And we just tagged on 2 additional items, just the highlighting, dropping off, and pickup routines, which I know every school is hammering their parent community with right now, because Thursday is going to go perfectly, I'm sure, with the new routines or continued routines that buildings have. So we just wanted to put that on the agenda as well for parents to bring up. And then I feel like there was one more topic. Oh yeah, supervision expectations before school and after school, just to make sure it's clear and consistent from school to school throughout the district. So those are the 3 topics that we plan to address with the support of the school resource officers on September 10th, again from 6 to 7 p.m. at Thomas Middle School. Another topic in safety is the standard response protocol. All staff have now gone through the training. We have one more group to do tomorrow. The board was also trained, so I'm excited to officially roll out and start on Thursday with the students. Signage is going up all around the buildings, and then we will practice a lot of the drills here at district office with our district office staff as well. right before September. So I'm excited to make sure that everyone now is consistent with the language and the standard response protocols. So a big thanks publicly to our school resource officers, John O'Leary and Chris Seebacher, for all of the face-to-face trainings that they've engaged in. Jokingly, I've asked if we can record them and I can just show it to people in the future, and they have politely declined every time I've asked, because they do recognize the value of being face-to-face, not only communicating and teaching, but building the relationship with people as well. So I appreciate all that they've done to prepare us for this school year. And then lastly, I didn't want to forget, we will continue to work on the strategic plan. We are currently looking at the portraits, getting a little more feedback, but know that that'll be an ongoing topic throughout this school year as well. The second section of my area this evening is the Freedom of Information Act. We had 10 different FOIA requests. All responses were provided following the required timelines. And my last section is the second reading of policies, Press 118. I just have one item I want to bring to the attention of everyone, and that is policy 8:30, visitors to and conduct on school property. It relates to the conversation about e-scooters and e-bikes and how we want to communicate with our families and students when on school property. You'll notice an adjustment on number 13 within that policy, and I just want to read it out loud so it's very clear to all of you. We are changing the language to read, operate or engage in any unauthorized or unsafe use of personal transportation or recreational mobility devices, such as bicycles, e-bikes, scooters, skateboards, rollerblades, hoverboards, dirt bikes, golf carts, ATVs, or any similar current or future devices on school property or during school-sponsored activities. We anticipate this is all encompassing, but we just wanted to make sure it's clear it covers all of the new and very popular e-bikes and e-scooters while on school property. So it just makes it more clear what the expectations are. So I just want to make sure you know that's a change from first reading to second. Again, just this change in 8:30, visitors to and conduct on school property. Any questions about that one?
A question about that. Could you clarify, is that any time on school property, not just during the school day?
That is absolutely correct, yes. So we do have signage that's already on the properties. I'm not saying everyone abides by it, but we need to update the signage to make sure it's clear that it's not just during school hours, it's at all times. Thanks for asking. I anticipate that'll be a big question the night of our safety night as well. So,
Okay. So this is a second reading,
This
so
is the second
it is
reading,
an action item. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that the Board of Education approve the policies and exhibits as presented.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Anisha. And so I think we've taken care of any questions. So Lana, you call the roll.
Buchberger,
Yes.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman,
Yes.
Tranter,
Yes.
Jogi,
Yes.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Thank you, Lana. The motion carries 7-0.
thank you.
And thank you, Dr. K. We are at the second community input section and see no blue slips. Thank you, Lana. We now go right on to the future agenda items. Any new topics for the board to consider from the board? Okay. And seeing none of those, the board needs to return to closed session to continue working on the same topics announced earlier for closed session. The board cannot take any action during closed session, and we will not be taking any action when we return to open session after. Can I have a motion to adjourn and return to closed session, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Kevin.
I recommend that we adjourn and move into closed session to continue discussion of the aforementioned topics.
Thank you, Kevin. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Anisha. Lana, if you could please call the roll.
Cerniglia,
Yes.
Neerman,
Yes.
Tranter,
Yes.
Jogi,
Yes.
Scapalato,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Buchberger.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next month.